We can say goodbye to the old hour because now the new hour is going to be on KRFF 95.9 LPFM. Moorhead, Fargo, 701-478-4959. Noon to 3, a side stage with Trav, then an hour of automation. And then Bingo Bango, your buddy Wilson. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We cover an hour of pro-cannabis. I'm going to build it up because there's enough tearing it down. So here, I believe it's a good thing. I know it's a good thing. So I'm going to promote that. There's a lot of cannabis news. We'll open a bag of cannabis news at 4:20. And RadioFreeFargo.org is also streaming. You can listen there or go and donate. It is the year of giving. See what I did there? But it's Christmas time, and we'll take all the stinking nickels you got in the jar. So RadioFreeFargo.org, there's going to be somewhere you can go and donate. Tell your buddies, 3 of you donate. Anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday at 4 o'clock. 4:20, we give you a fresh bag of cannabis news, and today will be no different. Welcome, each and every one of you. It's kind of gloomy outside, but it's always 420 degrees here in the studio, and I am dressed appropriately and, competent. I'm ready to get this thing popping off. And we got a lot of cannabis news. We got some good news. It's mostly all good news. And again, if it isn't, just, that'll be the thing I lie about. But anyway, speaking of lying, it's devious, Some would argue that it's a mental health disorder. So if I got any liars listening to me right now, why don't you go to the mobile mental health crisis response number, 1-800-233-4512, and get the truth lined out in you, son. The New Life Center helps people who are homeless and hurting go from merely surviving to truly thriving. Their aim is to help people in need discover value and find hope. The New Life Center has evolved into a multifaceted emergency and crisis service center. To learn more about NLC, visit their website at www.fargonlc.org or give them a call at 701-235-4453. And the week of January 12th, I'll be in Mexico to get the last of my dental work. And technically, I was supposed to go back like about 3 to 6 months after, last year I was there. And, the teeth felt so good, and I just kind of kept rocking with it because really, you don't just drop everything and go to Mexico, So I thought, it'd be fun to do it, a year anniversary. Well, I've got a month to go, and like 3 days ago, I was biting into an apple. I know, not the best thing to do when you got fake teeth. But anyway, 2 of my front teeth blew out after that apple. So I'd like to apologize in advance to all you audio Nazis that's going to hear the hiss or the... So let's say if I say farting incessantly, that's when the old 2 front teeth is my Christmas gift. But, bear with me. It's just a month, and for you guys, it's just 3 shows. And I shouldn't have said anything to anybody, but... It's my own head that messes with me that has to tell you that if you think I sound bad, it's because my 2 teeth are missing in the front. So my S and my S's sound like I'm a 9-year-old kid. But anyway, cannabis, that's what we're talking about. You bet we will. And I don't know. I feel like we've got ourselves... Okay, so RadioFreeFargo.org. You can go there and donate. Radio Free Fargo 95.9. That's where you're locked in right now. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We discuss all the cannabis news that's happened a week before, and I ziplock it open, and we just smack it around at 4:20. We got a lot to discuss. I believe we've done it. So we got our first song up here. It's the Resistance Revival Chorus. It's new, and it's kind of cool. I played another song before, but this was Woke Up This Morning with My Mind Stayed on Freedom. Let's get our advocacy jackets on, shall we? See you in a few minutes. And that was Resistance Revival Choir on Radio Free Fargo 95.9. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson at 4:20, and we're going to unwrap all the bricks of cannabis news, and that's going to be fun for all of us. We're here in Fargo. I am. You could be listening on RadioFreeFargo.org in Bootstrap, Kentucky. Welcome. I'm Wilson. I'm the Captain Cannabis. I'm the King of Green. At your service. I was going to cover something. First of all, I wanted to thank Leslie from Committee for Compassionate Care that was up in here last Thursday. It was kind of fun, Otherwise, it kind of seems like I'm just talking to a wall because I am. All right, enough of that. Okay, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Had a guest last week, and we discussed how she grew CBD in her yard, and they came and tested, and she had waited. Apparently, she liked them too much, and she didn't want to kill them, whack them, as they say in the business. And then by the time she, I don't know, decided she has to whack them, it was too late, and then they had to be carted off, decapitated at the neck, and drove off in a long black veil. Okay, what are we talking about? So anyway, she is kind of when legislation gets started, she's going to be up in there. At least she knows the people that knows what's going on. And so, again, Committee for Compassionate Care on Facebook. If you have any questions going into this year's legislation process for medical, any medical program related concerns or questions that you think, needs to be corrected, this is the time to do it. And so reach out to her. And she has a few things here that she sent to me, and I'm going to discuss with you guys so that we're on the same page and you can see, what they're planning on doing. And it's behind the scenes, to be honest with you. It's really kind of neat. And just because, when you're on the front line of cannabis legalization and you're fighting for it and you're going uphill because it's not really encouraged, so you got to make the way where there's no way, you start to see those people that are unwavering, that don't give up. And Leslie Ann Paulson is one of those people. So that she's going to be working for the family that's struggling because, a loophole keeps them from medicating their kid on the weekend. Or if grandma comes, they got to lie. And they got to send it with grandma anyway, even though she's not a licensed caregiver. So those are all things that you don't know about because you don't have a kid and you're not trying to get her better, or him, And so these are people that are honest, and they're going to try to get some of this stuff done. So I wanted to mention there's 4 bills in the work here. One is to eliminate the juvenile THC cap. Again, this is for the medical program going into the legislation session. I think it's like January 6th or so. So until then, you can probably, find out what's going on in more detail. You can ask her, and then she'll probably provide more information as we go along. But anyway, 4 bills in the work. One is to eliminate juvenile THC cap because the products of the children are too weak and expensive for most patients. So you got to buy more than you need, than you want to. 2, you increase caregiver numbers. 2 purchasers, 5 dosers. Current single caregiver limitation is very discriminatory to some of the people who would most benefit. Children of divorced parents, i.e. those in group homes and skilled care facilities, it is impossible to provide adequate cannabis treatment. So that's good, and I'm glad this is getting done. Now, number 3 is patient home grow. Number 4 is caregiver grow. And then the last one is possible patient protection bill, which gives access to labs. That sounds like a technical one that only people that know what they're talking about knows that's important, because I read it and I don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean anything. And again, if there's anything you want to add or have removed, just reach out to Committee for Compassionate Care, Leslie Ann Paulson, and she will either answer your question or send you to where you need to be, or at the very least give you encouragement, because she's in the trenches and she's got that green camo on. All right, so let me read that one more time. There's 4 bills currently that they're planning to get passed through the legislative session this year pertaining to medical cannabis. One is eliminate juvenile THC cap because it's too weak and they need it to be stronger, and they can't afford to get the amount that the kid needs. So again, they start lying. They start just doing it because the kids, you're going to do what the kid needs, period. Then you're going to deal with whatever later. All right. So increased caregivers numbers, 2 purchasers, 5 dosers. Current single caregiver limitations is very discriminatory to some of the people who would most benefit. Children of divorced parents, i.e. group home skill care, and then patient home grow, 4 caregiver grow, and then the patient lab one. So thanks for getting that to me, Leslie, again from Committee for Compassionate Care. And I'll probably read that again on the outro, just so we're on the same loop. And it's music time. I got a brand new one here from Homeboy Sandman, and then Johnny Cash, Don't Take Your Guns to Town. And then it's showtime. First up, that was Death to Biters, Homeboy Sandman. And then a equally, violent and connotated Don't Take Your Guns to Town, Johnny Cash. That's old school, 1958. And we've approached Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's what's happening right now. So I'll see you on the other side of this thing, and we'll talk about cannabis. We'll talk about cannabis.
Yo, it's Wilson from Canna-Talk ND. You know, the super awesome show you're getting ready to listen to. I think you should go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll wait. Okay, enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's where we're at, and that's where you are. We're going to talk about cannabis in a positive light, and I'm sure glad you guys came along for the ride. So we're going to get right into it here. I'm just going to see what I want to stink and start talking about first. Well, anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday at 4:20, I open a fresh bag of cannabis news for you all, and it's things that's happened the last week. I cover what's going on here, which I did in the last segment, you know, regarding the Medical and Committee for Compassionate Care, and then I start working my way out. Now, South Dakota is right in our backyard, so I'll probably wait until the end. Plus, again, when I start, because this is just kind of I don't have any sort of real direction, right? So I've got pages up. I kind of know what I'm going to talk about. But I also have ADD, which is kind of fun for me, but sometimes not always fun for you guys. Now, the talking department, I got covered. But if I sit and force you to listen to 25 minutes of something that I don't even know what I'm talking about, sometimes it's good for the listener, but it isn't always. You know, that's where medication and stuff comes in, you know. But anyway, welcome. I wanted to say, Canna-Talk ND, let's see. Philip, Canna-Heads Pilco, Sundays, Canna-Talk ND. ND for Freedom is the Facebook page, and then Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. Tomorrow around 5, we'll give you this minus the music, and you can listen to it by yourself in the outhouse or the fish house. Welcome. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. And so what I wanted to mention, because now you can go a couple shows back, and I focused on this more, you know, about the man serving 90-year sentence for selling marijuana released from prison. And I mean, this is a crazy story. You know, it's almost worth either Googling it or going back. You know, this guy, he didn't even do anything. He didn't. He just, okay, so the cops say to him, hey, you want to help smuggle, you know, dope in from Cuba? He goes, yeah, I probably could. And then they busted him on that statement. You know, so anyway, he served 90 years. He had a 90-year prison sentence for selling cannabis. Richard DeLisi's wife died, as did his 23-year-old son and both his parents. His adult daughter was in a horrific car accident, and she's paralyzing stroke. He never met 2 granddaughters in a lifetime of missed memories. So anyway, he walked out of a Florida prison Tuesday morning, grateful and unresentful as he hugged his tearful family. He finally met his 11-year-old and 1-year-old granddaughters for the first time this week. He says, I'm a blessed human being, a survivor, he said in a phone interview with the Associated Press while he was in the parking lot of his favorite hamburger joint as he watched his granddaughters laugh and bounce a ball. Well, that's awesome. Let's give him a hand. Richard DeLisi, finally free. At the age of 40, he committed the crime. They said he did, but he didn't. He believes he was targeted with the lengthy sentence because the judge mistakenly thought he was part of an organized crime because he was Italian from New York. Oh, no, I never thought of that. DeLisi. Oh, man. DeLisi said he had opportunities, but he never had any desire for that life. He prefers not to dwell on lost memories and time he'll never get back. He's not angry and instead takes every opportunity to express gratitude and hope. Well, that is fantastic. DeLisi, welcome to the free world. All right, so we're just going to keep on cruising here. I got kind of some random stuff. San Francisco to ban tobacco smoking in apartments, but not cannabis. So that's a win, okay? So we'll read this a little bit. San Francisco, this is from the Guardian, the newspaper. San Francisco will ban tobacco smoking inside apartments in an effort to curb the negative health impacts of secondhand smoke. I mean, it bothers me too in the Gardener, you know, but I feel like when I'm burning my legal CBD flower, you know, I don't want to be discriminated against, you know, and I don't want to say that I'm cooler than the tobacco smell that invades the hall. But you can go outside. And I guess technically I can too. Okay. But we're not talking about North Dakota. So nice try arguing with me. So anyway, San Francisco will ban tobacco. Okay. But cannabis smoking, however, will still be permitted. How cool is that? So anyway, San Francisco's Board of Supervisors passed the ban on tobacco and e-cigarette smoking in apartments 10-1 on Wednesday. The amendment exempting cannabis passed 8-3, with the board president, Norman Yee, the overall ordinance author, among the dissenting votes. He said, while there are great benefits to cannabis, there are still health risks and exposure the secondhand cannabis smoke. Apparently, an ordinance restricting cannabis smoking in apartments would take away cannabis users' only legal place to smoke, who wrote the amendment to exempt cannabis. So that's awesome. Tonight I introduced a successful amendment at the Board of Supervisors to fully exempt all legal cannabis used by adults in their home from an ordinance that would prohibit smoking inside private units and multi-unit buildings. So he takes these concerns seriously. Tobacco smokers and cannabis smokers are in fundamentally different positions. Under state law, cannabis smoking is currently banned in public spaces throughout California, and unlike tobacco smokers who could still leave their apartments to step out to the curb or smoke in other permitted areas. And so, again, I mean, if you got a medical card, which hopefully this year through the legislation, it'll be easier to get medical cards. Because, again, it's kind of like the elitists can afford a medical card when usually the impoverished and, disenfranchised are the ones that need it the most and can't afford medical cards, can't afford the medical loophole, but can kick down a couple bucks from panhandling to get something that'll fix his head so he's not out there mumbling around and hurting himself. I digress. But again, medical users should be able to be exempt from any sort of smoking in apartments. Now, the gardener has what's called forced air. So every air in your apartment goes out to the hall and then a certain place and then it's recycled. So no matter what you do in your apartment, it's going to come out and mingle with the curry and the tobacco and the come on wash your butt guy in 207. Anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every stinking Thursday, 4:20. I break open a bag of cannabis news because we're here to, change the law, not break the law. And I asked, and I can't open bags of cannabis here at the radio station. I asked. So anyway, go to RadioFreeFargo.org and donate. It's the holiday season, so come give us your money. And, and if you want to even be an underwriter, that's a good way to get your name out. And anybody that's, that kicks down to be advertised on this station or under it, they're cool. And the people that are listening to Radio Free Fargo, you know who you are. We're all cool. So, just an opportunity I wanted to kick down for you there. Okay, so now where are we at? We're in Denver. So eliminating caps on dispensary locations, weed delivery, indoor smoking. Some major changes might be coming to Denver's weed law. The city licensing department said they'd be the biggest changes to the law since Denver started lighting up legally in 2014, which is only 6 years ago, which in contrast seems like a long time ago, but then it really isn't. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the time warp. Ooh, the city department that regulates marijuana is considering some major changes to Denver's weed law. The Department of Excise and License will ask City Council to consider dropping Denver's cap on the number of dispensaries and cultivation sites currently allowed in the city. Now, I want to point out that this was the attitude that Oregon had, and they ended up making so much, and there were so many options that, it ended up going to waste. So if you remove the cap on dispensaries, there must be a strategic amount of dispensaries within a certain amount of miles, that could be created that would keep the cost, you still have value in cannabis, but each and every one of us could be able to, be involved. And that's another problem with dispensaries like in Illinois. I would want to have a dispensary. I believe I could run it right. I know where to grow it in the heartland there in Illinois, but I don't have the $8 million to get in the license lottery. And that's where all of a sudden the big guys, Pall Mall and Marlboro, they start to contend for all that money because they're the ones that can kick down the money that the state is asking for you to give so you can grow it. And so that's kind of a problem, that I even see with the MORE Act. That one, I feel like you guys, we want cannabis legalized so much that we don't see the small writing in that stinking MORE Act. So, if you're bored, you're sitting around, you get the COVID-19 quarantine, look into that. It's, look into it a little more specifically, and you'll see they lump it in with tobacco. It becomes a sin tax. Read it. It's not as gravy as all of us hopeful. We just want cannabis to be legalized. I meant eyes with E-I-E-S. See what I mean? Legal eyes. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Some of the things I've read, especially for a medical kind of direction, I hesitate to say it's an improvement. And it could rope in once that thing passes to the Senate, it's going to be really hard to change it. And people will be like, well, let's just get it through because we want this to happen. I mean, UN already reduced the controlled substance down to whatever. It's not even up there anymore. So I don't know. I also wanted to point out that they passed a law that people in states and legal states, they can go to dispensaries and get their stuff for research instead of growing their crap swag out in the back 40 that, animals outside won't even eat for roughage. So that's good news because now they can research on, the danky dank, whatever that means, because I don't know. Anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We are ankle deep into our weekly discussion on the benefits of cannabis and the news that's happened, last week. And that's another thing I wanted to point out. This isn't old news. I'm not talking about anything I talked about last Thursday. Don't thumbtack me, But anyway, let's get into this. The changes would provide more opportunities for social equity applicants, so anybody could get it. Denver currently has a cap of 451 marijuana cultivation and sales locations, 220 marijuana and 299 cultivations. That cap would be eliminated. Now, again, in Oregon, when they eliminated these kind of confinements that kind of put value on it, So anyway, department spokesperson said the proposals seek to remove barriers and make operating marijuana businesses more accessible to people of color, and I'm all for that. You would be allowed indoors to smoke and outdoors with odor mitigation requirements. The proposal would allow for licensed locations to sell small amounts and allow on-site consumption, which I would imagine everybody assumes that you can do that in Denver because that's kind of where, that's the hot pot, and allow for spaces where people can consume their own weed. Now, Denver's first licensed consumption lounge, the Coffee Joint, lets people vape or eat edibles on site, and under the new proposal, people would be allowed to smoke weed as well. So if you're thinking of visiting, they're scheduled for December 15th and December 17th over Zoom to do the meetings, and it looks like it'll be good to go. So far this year, marijuana product sales in the state are approaching a previous annual record set in 2019. Well, good for you, Denver. And I just wanted to say again that eliminating cap on dispensary locations, weed delivery, and indoor smoking where you can buy it there and consume it there is right around the corner in Denver. So now I wanted to say that true to form, and this is from Marijuana Moment, true to form, Mexican Supreme Court extends deadline to legalize marijuana as lawmakers continue to advance bill. Now, is anybody surprised at this? These guys have been extending the deadline since 2018. And they seem so casual about it, too. It's like they're impervious to anybody being frustrated that these guys, one day is like 1,000 years with these guys, So I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this. I just want to say that the bill would establish a regulated cannabis market, allows adults 18 and older to purchase and possess up to 28 grams, which that is one of the highlights, 18 and older, that is pretty cool. Now, I was hoping they'd get it done by January 12th to the 19th, because that when your boy's going to be, dental work / I want to go check SpaceX. Last year I was there, I went and checked the SpaceX. They were moving some stuff around, and, that Boca Chica, I'll be there again. I don't even know what I'm talking about. So the Mexican Supreme Court has agreed to extend the deadline for lawmakers to legalize marijuana nationally. Even as Senate passed reform legislation advanced this week through at least 2 Chamber of Department committees. So first it was October 2019, then April 2020, then December 2020, and now it's stinking April of 2021, guys. This is the most casual, lawmakers I've ever, watched on the national stage. So anyway, if you were planning on getting anything in Mexico before April 2021 in October of 2018, that's 3 years, So come on, Mexico. Although it'll happen. It just because it seems like they push it so they don't have to legalize it. But I actually believe that they might be pushing it so they could make it better. But I don't know, to be honest. But here's another fun thing. federal TSA, and if you guys are into, I just wanted to mention dumping CBD oil on strawberries extends their shelf life and stops mold growth. So, I mean, man, that alone should tell you all you need to know about hemp and cannabis and its properties. Because, again, my two big toes look like the face of a 6-month-old baby, and they've looked like a 100-year-old man standing in the wind my whole life. I've used everything I possibly could until this stuff, like I said, of my friends, I put this body butter on my feet, and it has CBD and all the stuff. And my big toes are smooth. So, I mean, I couldn't rub tobacco on my feet. I couldn't pour Jim Beam on my feet and get rid of a funk. Although I would argue you probably could with like some Bacardi 151. Stick your toes in there and hit it with the fire. Boom. So anyway, again, I'm getting sidetracked here, but I wanted to say, this is another marijuana moment. Federal TSA's Instagram rants about sticky, icky, marijuana on National Brownie Day. So it is National Brownie Day. So I don't know what that means, but you probably can buy a brownie here, So, buy one and eat it for National Brownie Day. But it was this week. Well, it's not even today. But anyway, the U.S. Transportation Security Administration's social media manager sure didn't. And I've noticed this about, like, social media, how, like Wendy's in certain places, they're all cheeky. They do cheeky stuff. Well, anyway, he posted on his Instagram account, and you can go check that out. He says, "We here, it's National Brownie Day. So we're here to talk about something really sticky, icky, ooh-wee." The federal agency posted to its verified Instagram account on Tuesday. Quote, "Hopefully this doesn't post near 420 because we're about to doobie down," says this seemed like 85-year-old English teacher. Following that high-flying introduction is a public service announcement of sorts, warning travelers not to bring cannabis through airports. And I wanted to bring it up because it is the holiday season, and we all know cannabis users are good people that get forced into this horrible box of legality. We all know this. So I'm just saying, if you're going to fly, I don't know, think about it. I just want you to think about it. Because you could argue that they're not going to look, because if they're making funny doobie down jokes, But I've had friends growing up, they duct tape it to their up under their personal area, and not even break a sweat, roll right through TSA. And I'm like, man, you are crazy. And we'd get to where we were going. He'd have to have it surgically removed. But boom, so there's a whole, spectrum of people that have attempted the old flying trick. Now, I'm too paranoid, freaks me out. But I just wanted to say that things are changing a little bit, and I just wanted to read this for fun. Following that high-flying introduction, he says marijuana, now here comes the weirdo again, marijuana, whether dank or swag, it isn't dope in your carry-on or check bag, the post says, establishing a rhyme scheme. This includes cannabis products and CBD oil, which remain illegal under federal law except for products that contain no more than 0.3, which how are they going to even figure that out? You know what I'm saying? While bad cannabis puns are standard fare in mainstream treatment of marijuana issues, especially among law enforcement accounts, which you guys seen, this is also kind of TSA's thing on the Insta, where the agency describes itself as the travel tips and dad jokes hit. So back to the marijuana. They say, let's be blunt, the agency wrote in Tuesday's post. Do you know what happens when we discover your stash? We don't yell jackpot, but are required to refer your product to our local law enforcement officers. The LEOs may choose to cite, fine, or simply confiscate the grass. We leaf it up to these professionals to hash it out, and in this case, it isn't a joint effort. So, I don't know. Are we cool? We'd like to think we're cool. TS officers do not search for marijuana or other illegal drugs. Our screening procedure are focused on security and detecting potential threats. So, that's that. And we are cruising right along. And we are, so I wanted to say Wyoming. Looks like they're going to be able to get cannabis legalized. They're moving in that direction. But everybody knows that, because they get all hung up in the color that these guys are. So it seems to be fun for the talking heads to talk all the time about something. But South Dakota governor again slams voters' marijuana decision, but budget funds, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to mention that The Attorney General, he claims that the lawsuit that that Kristi Noem is paying with your tax dollars in South Dakota just trips me out. And I can't believe that she still thinks, that's cool, because it's not cool. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday, 4:20. We get all waded up into the deep end of cannabis and cannabis legalization. And today's no different. I'll be around next Thursday at 4:20. And we're getting close to the holiday season. So I don't know what that means, but get your big arms around somebody. Actually, don't do that. Give them an air hug and tell them that Kristi Noem loves them. Okay? And let's talk about her just a little bit. The governor of South Dakota is continuing her condemnation of voters' decision to legalize marijuana for medical and rec purposes. And people argue like they say she knows what he's talking about, or how could she possibly know? I don't know. I'm thinking she lives in a bubble. And all she knows is what is happening in her state, and then makes comments regarding it. Because if you knew anything about cannabis legalization and revenue, just type in stinking Illinois' budget for November. Just type that in, Kristi, and then tell me that there's no benefit to it and it doesn't help families get ahead. It's just, I think people always want to lump it in with, it can't be, it's not as, it's just as bad as tobacco and booze, so it should be allowed. But it isn't like tobacco and booze. I believe our bodies need a certain amount of it to be balanced and chi. It isn't it's not also something that should be allowed. I would argue that we need to get it back into the cattle, get it back into something they eat, get it back in all the animals' diets, and offer it, as a grain for all of us humans. And again, I would argue that a lot of aches and pains that we struggle with and buy over-the-counter meds with, we would stop doing that and we'd be overall happier. Right? Because our body's in balance. Our chi would be groovy. So anyway, Tuesday, Governor Kristi Noem said during her annual budget address that she wanted to call out one budget provision related to the disappointing votes on marijuana at the ballot box this year, and that there are significant safety and regulatory costs associated with both the medical and the recreational one. Now, I don't know if she's trying to convince us that, or the people that voted, that they're just not smart enough to know that there's going to be safety and regulatory costs. The budget is complicated by a lawsuit challenging the adult use reform measure, Noem said, stating that she will have to present 2 courses of action, a path forward with both rec and medical, and a second with just medical, which really sounds like she thinks they're going to get that knocked out. So that scares me a little. The medical cannabis reform measure is not being legally contested. But I would argue that the person who's coming up with 2 courses of action is behind the legal contesting. You know what I'm saying? So the governor argued that the state will not see any revenue from marijuana until at least April of 2022, though it could be longer. And in the meantime, to comply with the predetermined timeline, the DOR needs to get to work now. This funding will go to our staff, technology, consultants, training and enforcement, among many others. She wants the budget to kick down $136,000 over 3 years to cover staff and other costs related to setting up a program. That should be enough to support program costs until revenue starts coming in, unquote. So she's definitely with it. And I would imagine that a smart person, as she thinks she is in business and, fair play, that maybe she is ignorant. And once she starts seeing that this isn't like fire water, it's not like it's giving people another bad thing. You did give them another vice with the argument that it's no worse than these 2 vices. Let's just have 3 vices as an option. And that's what I think a lot of people think about cannabis when it really is a dietary supplement that in some form we used to have in our systems, and it used to be in the breast milk, blah, 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 blah. And then now, the only thing in breast milk is Cheez-Its. Okay, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson is where you're listening to now. Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9 LPFM, or at Fargo. Normally I would do an underwriter. I don't see them here, so they must be changing them out for the next year. So if that's the case, I want to shout out Terps Candy. Look them up online. They're candy with a conscience. Stinking Northland Vapor is also an underwriter for us. So thanks, guys. And happy holidays to you guys. And Terps Candy, I've been reading it so much, I know that it enhances, relieves, and relaxes. The power of terpenes. Can you dig it? But anyway, we've done it. We've done it. We've talked about cannabis in a positive light. And I'm going to keep doing it. But let's get funky, shall we? I'm going to play some funk. We got brand new George Clinton in Parliament. And then we've got some funky Christmas music featuring Big Freedia, who Big Freedia was here at the aquarium. She does like, I don't know, like Lizzo type dancing. So let's get into it, and I'll see you guys in 7 minutes. Here's Come On What You Come On, Funkadelic. Thank you. Too Many Zoos, and that's with Big Freedia. She's awesome. Started that off with Come On What You Come On, featuring Funkadelic. They're still putting out stuff. Good for them. Radio Free Fargo, 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson here at 95.9 every Thursday at 4 o'clock. 4:20, I give you a fresh bag of cannabis news, and this is no different. And I will be back next Thursday as we get closer to that special day on the 25th. I'll be here Christmas Eve. So if anybody wants to bring chocolates or hams, bring them on through. I'll eat them. I'll probably throw the ham at you. Just kidding. I like ham. Bring ham. Anyway, this is an hour where we discuss cannabis legalization and we promote its benefits. And I'm not, going to ever change that until it gets legal. I'm a fighter for it, even back when it's gaining popularity. But I can assure you, when I started pushing for cannabis legalization, it was not the popular decision. All right, I got flack, and in fact, a lot of my life I had to lie, which, being now kind of a spiritual person, having to lie to get your head right seemed like a conundrum for me, So anyway, I'm going to get out of here quick, but I just wanted to mention again, thanks to Leslie for coming in, Committee for Compassionate Care. She's going to be in the legislation at the Capitol, working her magic. And here's the 4 bills that they're going to work on: eliminating juvenile cap, increasing caregiver numbers. So, if the children, divorced parents, dad can give it, grandma can give it, patient home grow, caregiver grow, and possible patient protection bill, which gives access to labs. So that's good to know. And I'm pretty pumped about that. And again, Philip Cannahead Pilco, my tech guy, my young Jamie, if you will, he does a show called Cannaheads. That's on Canna-Talk ND. We're going to give you this show tomorrow around 5-ish, minus the music. That's also on Canna-Talk ND. Go there, subscribe. Apparently, I'm on Spotify and the other one, Apple Music Podcast, so you can check that out as well. KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Radio Free Fargo, the most famous station in the world. But I just wanted to say, educate yourself and then educate others on the benefit of cannabis, because trust me, it benefits everybody. So let's just get on the train. I'm Captain Cannabis, the King of Green. See you next Thursday. David Allen. Peace.